Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So, it could be, Salman, that this could be, the singular issue is that when you learn to.
Welcome to Summer First Experience. In this show, we'll be covering everything a new entrepreneur needs to know to set up their business and how you can grow and scale your business in the shortest possible time. If you have a question in mind, go to salmanfarsi.co/ask and submit your question. We might answer it in the next episode. Let's begin our today's episode.
Today our guest is speaking confidence coach Linda Ugelow. Formerly stricken with public speaking fear herself, she now teaches entrepreneurs and corporate leaders to transform their experience of speaking from dead to delight, whether online or on stage, in the media or in the meeting room. You can learn how to overcome your speaking fear in her new book, Delight in the Limelight. Yeah, you guessed it right. Today we're going to talk about public speaking. Let's start.
So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here, Salman.
So, for our listener who don't know about you, tell us a bit about yourself, how you got to where you are today.
Yes, I was an organic farmer. And one day I was listening to a podcast on how to start the right business. And suddenly I realized I was in the wrong business. I loved farming, I loved growing things, but I always had a dream of making a big impact with people. And I thought, oh my gosh, here I am hiding behind the kale. This is not where I'm going to be making my big impact. So I decided right then and there that I was going to become an online entrepreneur. I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do, but I would figure it out. And I was undeterred. I had this feeling that if I got to the end of my life and I hadn't tried to figure it out, that I would feel regret. And I didn't want that to happen. So I joined in some business groups online, female entrepreneurial groups, and just saw what I thought I might be able to help with, what was missing. And what I realized that I had was a way of approaching life that was very positive and optimistic. And I always was looking for the better ways of doing things. So I struggled the least that I had to struggle. And so I built my website. I started to coach, and I realized I needed visibility. Because you can build a business, you can start your business, you have your entrepreneurial idea, but at some point, people got to know about it. If they don't know about it, you can't help them. They don't know you exist. They can't buy from you. They can't follow you. So I took a whole bunch of video courses to get comfortable on camera, which I was not. I think I probably made 150 videos, all unlisted. And then this new program came out, a new app came out that was going to change the online space forever. And it was called Periscope. I don't know if you ever heard of Periscope. It was the first live streaming app before Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, any of those. And I wanted to be an early adopter. And the marketing gurus said, oh, you got to get on every day. If you want to build your following, get on every day. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'll tell you that the first time I did it, I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I mean, people were coming in from India, from, Turkey, from Europe and all across the US. And I just felt frozen, but I, forced myself to say something coherent before I got off. And I did this for a few more days. And then finally, I reached out to my video mentor at the time. And I said, do you get nervous when you do this? Like, when does it stop? And she said, oh, you'll adjust. It takes about 75 days. And I thought, what?
75 days.
Right, Salman,
Yeah.
right? And I thought, oh gosh, how am I going to do this? Okay, and I pulled myself together, and Every day I was doing something to manage my anxiety. I was doing jumping jacks and kicks and punches and meditation and deep breathing and affirmations and power poses. I mean, everything I could think of, I did. I Googled, how to get over your nerves. I tried reframing my brain and all of these things. And actually it worked for getting me on every single day. And then I got to that day 75. And I was about to press broadcast, and I realized my heart was still racing. And I thought, wait a minute, why is my heart still racing? I mean, I've had all this practice, 10 weeks of daily practice. You would think that I would be confident and calm, but I wasn't. And I hated the way it felt, and I thought, I'm going to find a way to get rid of this. But before I get rid of it, I want to understand, what is this fear even about? So I closed my eyes to connect with the fear, asking, what is it trying to say? And what came back was, you're going to be attacked. I thought, whoa, what's that about? And then I had a memory of being a kid and my sisters attacking me every time my mom put me in the center of attention, because I was a goody-goody and they were naughty. So every time she said, why can't you girls be more like Linda? I knew, oh my God, they were here it comes again. She would leave the room and they would charge, kick me in the shins, call me stupid, tell me to shut up. And then it hit me, oh my God, this is what's going on. I'm not comfortable speaking on camera or in front of a crowd, because there's a part of me that remembers it was dangerous, that it was risky, and I could get attacked. And even though that was like years ago, when I checked in with myself, I realized, oh my God, I still feel that way. That's why it came back. I'm going to be attacked. I was still carrying that childhood memory with me. And that alerted me to the idea of, oh my gosh, maybe the fear of speaking isn't about what is, who is in the audience today. Maybe it's what happened earlier on. Maybe it's the times we were belittled or shamed or rejected or kicked or attacked or pressured to perform, or we felt like we were only good enough if we were perfect. One of these things. So I spent the next days intensively, combing through my memory of everything I could think of that might have contributed to my feeling afraid. And I forgave people everyone I could think of. I forgave myself. I spoke to my younger child and I consoled her and I told her that I understood her. And I did something called EFT, or emotional freedom technique. Some people know it as tapping. I did all these things, and believe it or not, in 5 days, I didn't have that racing heart anymore. It was gone. And what really capped it all for me was about a week later, when I had a very, very busy day and I had to do my Periscope. And when I got on, I said, oh my gosh, guys, I am so happy to be here because my day's been so frantic and now I can just relax. And I thought, wow, relax on camera? That's new. I like that. So that's how I got into this song. I first had this experience of completely transforming my own experience by going into my past experiences that I had. And then it didn't occur to me to oh, this is what I want to help people with. No, it wasn't quite like that. In fact, I resisted it for a while, but people were asking me if I could help them. And I thought, yeah, let's give it a go. I wasn't a quote unquote public speaker at the time, but I had a public speaker come to me and say, I'm really nervous on the stage. I know you work with people on camera. Can you help me on the stage? And I said, well, let's give it a go. And so we did. And it just kind of snowballed from there.
Did you record in the 75 days process? Did you post those videos?
Oh, those were all posted, yeah. And then I went on to do 200 more. And then Facebook came out with Facebook Live. And then so many people left the Periscope platform and they moved to Facebook. And that kind of interrupted my flow. But I've continued to do a lot of live streams since then. Yeah. I had my own TV show that I live streamed every week a couple of times. And yeah, so it's actually live streaming is a really fun thing for me to do now.
I have never done live in my whole life.
Yeah, what does it feel like thinking about it?
It's like what I'm gonna say on camera. I have made videos a lot, but I've never done lives. I'm totally uncomfortable in lives.
Yeah. What feels like the hardest part about it?
Let me tell you about a little bit about my public speaking. When I was in school, it was my first public speaking. I was giving a presentation. When I got on the stage, I got so much nervous. I was just reading what was on the slide. And there was, in the presentation, we don't talk about we don't read the presentation, right? So it's like, my concept was always like, I'm going to say more than what it's in the presentation. So that was too much horrible. So that was my first journey. So maybe that affected me.
Was it because you added more material and so it took longer and you couldn't get through the presentation, or what?
I was not able to speak.
What was the problem with that? You were not able to speak.
It's like,
yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna say. Nothing is coming to my mind. I'm just reading the presentation, nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
Even when I started the podcast, I'm new at podcasting, so I started recording on the maybe in the early this September. So when I was recording, my first episode, I was so much nervous. I ended up canceling that episode.
Oh. Wow. Yeah, this is what fear can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it like stops us and going back to the time in school when you gave that presentation and you couldn't think, what happens is that when the part of our brain called the amygdala, the center, the fear center, when that gets activated, it actually closes off access to the part of the brain that you need to speak and, the executive functioning. And so that's one of the difficult things about having fear of speaking, is that it makes it even worse for you to do the kind of processing that you need to when you're speaking. So it really kind of hits you. It almost like hits you when you're down, which is really sad and unfortunate. And I'm wondering, though, in your school, did you feel like the teachers were very strict or mean? Were there kids that were kind of bullying one another, or was it a kind environment? What kind of environment was it?
It was kind environment. I was always comfortable in my school. That's not a problem. I never get bullied. It's like I was the center focus student.
Everybody
loves me.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that kind of.
Nice. So were you a very good student then?
Yeah, I was good student. I was.
Yeah. And did you get praised a lot for being a good student?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your parents probably liked it?
They did. I was good student for a certain period. In my college, I was not that much good. So I was good.
You were good enough.
Yeah.
You're good enough. But earlier on, you were more studious. Yeah, I actually am currently working with a CFO, and his issue was always being identified with being that really good student, doing things well, perfectly, and the idea of like nobody else feels like he's not doing good enough, but in his mind, he's never good enough. And that we can push ourselves really hard. And it may be that everyone, as you say, it can be a very kind environment, but are we being kind to ourselves? Or are we putting ourselves down for not reaching the standard that we have in our mind? And I think, so I in my book, I have a book out called Delight in the Limelight, and I talk about this 3-part framework. And the first thing is to reveal and heal whatever might have happened in our lives that contributed to the feeling of that it not being safe to speak or to take up attention. But the second part, which is equally important, is to restore a sense of safety. And it's nice if you have an outside environment that is supportive, but sometimes you're worried that it's not going to be. But the harshest critic is not outside, it's in your head. And we become very accustomed to saying mean things to ourselves all the time, or how could you say that? Or you're not prepared, or if they only knew, or I don't know. Do you ever have those kinds of thoughts in your head? That wasn't good.
I do. I push myself a lot.
Yeah. So, it could be, Salman, that this could be, the singular issue is that when you learn to speak to yourself, like, I don't know if you've got a family yet, if you've got kids of your own.
I'm a kid.
You're a kid. Okay. So think about yourself, or just like nephews or nieces that you have, and imagine that they're feeling really bad about themselves. And you look at them and you go, oh my God, this is a beautiful child. What a beautiful child. Don't feel bad about yourself. Celebrate yourself. You're wonderful. We all love you. And this is the way we need to speak to ourselves, is that I understand you. I'm with you. I'm on the same side. When we have that voice inside of ourselves that's kind of against us, it's pushing us in the opposite direction that we really want to go. What we really need is an ally inside there. We need all of the parts of ourselves to be allies. So when we're looking at our goals, we feel like we're not working against ourselves. We don't have a part that's looking in the other direction saying, no, let's go back there. No, we want to be able to encourage ourselves and be kind to ourselves and supportive and understanding and compassionate, all these things, because it's hard enough to do all that you do as an entrepreneur. It's hard enough to start a podcast. It's hard enough to do live streaming, that we want to be there for ourselves 24/7 as much as we can. And it takes practice. Practice and commitment. Yeah. So I want you to clean up those thoughts, Salman. I want to see you on a live stream.
I will do in future.
Okay. Yes, I know you will. It's definitely in your future. And when you are ready, you will do it.
It's different because sometimes I get nervous, sometimes I don't. It's like in 2015, I started YouTubing. I never get nervous. Last year in 2020, I started making videos about business related things. I get nervous a lot. Again, when I started podcast, I was nervous. Why I'm nervous now when I was making a video in 2015, why I was not nervous? It's like sometimes I'm getting nervous and sometimes I'm not getting nervous.
Yeah, well, it's worth investigating. It's worth being curious. Maybe it was the topic. What were you talking about in 2015?
Vlog, actually. There's no any specific topic. It was kind of related to tech side, also mostly blogs, my daily lives and those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and maybe now you have the stakes maybe a little higher. Maybe you are building a business in a different way now than you were in 2015.
I'm building a business since last year. In 2015, I was not building a business. I'm not that much old. I'm just 22.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times people come to me, some of my clients say, I am fine when I'm talking about other people, when I'm talking about, other things that don't matter as much to me. But if I'm talking about myself or my work or what I want to sell, all of a sudden I get all flustered. So I think that's why it's important to think about, well, what is different about what you were doing then and what you were doing more recently? And where you may feel more attached to the outcome and what people think. Yeah, I don't know if that resonates with you.
Little. Not totally, actually.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing that only you can know for sure, because you know you better than anybody else. But take some time to investigate it. Or I don't know if you like to write, but I am a big proponent of keeping a journal. Not that you have to do it every day, but especially when you come up to things that don't feel comfortable, where you feel some resistance. If you write about it for 5 or 10 minutes, whatever is on your mind, you'll be amazed at how you shift your energy around it. In fact, there are studies, I think there was a study at the University of Chicago that had students who were taking exams. They had some of them write about their anxiety about the exam. And those students did significantly better on their exams just by taking time to write about it. Taking time to write about their anxiety. So I think this can be applied to any kind of resistance. In fact, that's how I wrote my book. Every time I felt like really stuck on a chapter or a paragraph and I couldn't figure out what do I want to say, I would go to my journal and say, okay, I have no idea what I want to say here. I'm not sure what the point is, and I don't know why I can't get into it, or this feels so hard. And I just write about it. And after a couple of minutes, I went, okay, now I'm ready to go back to my manuscript. You can do that for like anything in your business, anything. It can be like you're learning the technology of your CRM package, or you're learning how to use Zapier, or whatever it is, and you feel frustrated and so, distraught, and you're struggling. Go open up a journal page, write about it, and I promise you will feel differently. It's amazing. It's kind of like it's like you don't know sometimes what you're thinking until you get it out on the page. And it just accelerates that process of figuring things out. And it's a way to keep things moving forward as an entrepreneur.
I will definitely try that.
Good.
Personally, when I'm stuck, I listen to music or I take a shower.
Oh, both. Brilliant. Brilliant. Both of them. Yeah, I think music is medicine. And
I listen to music a lot. When I'm working, I'm listening to music.
Oh, interesting. Now, do you ever dance to music?
In my mind, actually.
Oh,
little
nice.
bit on the outside.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent of chair dancing and also visualizing, movement to music. Yeah, I like to actually move to music too. And I find that is very, I feel like I can, whatever it is that I'm wanting to bring into my life more, if it's more focus or more clarity or organization or confidence, I'll pick a piece of music that evokes that emotion for me. And then when I move to it, I feel like I'm building that inside myself. So I like it for that. And I'm not a shower person, I'm a bath person, but I hear that some people swear by getting their ideas in the shower. Sounds like you're one of them.
Yeah.
It's one of your happy places.
My happy place is my work.
Nice.
I spend my 12 to 16 hours a day in this desk.
Wow. Well, that's wonderful. Isn't that a joy that you can feel so excited about what you're doing.
Yeah. It's like, especially when I'm sad, these things help me a lot to overcome it. Did you sing when you were listening to the music?
If I know the words or if I like the melody, yeah, then I do. Yeah, what about you?
Most of the time I sing. Other person from other room don't like my singing.
Aww.
I have recorded and listened to what I say. It's better when it's better with the headphone, actually. I sing horrible. Yeah.
Well, maybe they just need to be encouraged to sing more, you know? Maybe they're just feeling, maybe they're thinking, wish I could do that.
Okay, so let's get on to our topic. Is speaking online or offline is different or the same thing?
I think it has different set of skills to some degree, and it overlaps with others. When people ask me about, is the fear the same? I say, if you have fear somewhere you're speaking, it's worth investigating it. It doesn't matter if you're comfortable on camera, but you're not uncomfortable in person, or vice versa. That if you are struggling with that, then let's look under the hood. But that being said, there are some differences in, that are pretty obvious. One is, let's say when you're online, you've got a camera, you have one place to look. When you are in person, you may have a room full of people to be addressing your comments to. And that each of them takes practice and building a comfort with. So some people, I have a course called Comfy on Camera, and one section of it is make friends with a lens. And there is a way to make friends with a lens that feels very uplifting, and so that the lens can become your happy place. When you're in with people, the practice would be more to be more flexible in your visual range, so that you don't get stuck in a tunnel, like staring at one person out of, the tightness of your fear. But you have to be able to invite the people who are in the different parts of the room or the auditorium or the theater to feel like they are included in what you're talking about. So of course, depending on if it's 10 people or 100 or 1,000, you're going to be, you're going to treat it a little differently. But in terms of your delivery, obviously, like right now, we're sitting in chairs. When you are on stage, you probably will not be on a chair. You'll be standing up, and you'll be using the space on the stage to some degree or another. Like a TED Talk, they actually now have these red circles on the rugs on the stage. So you stay within that circle, because I think they were seeing too many people pace back and forth, which is kind of distracting to the audience. So there are these specific performance skills that are different online, but I would say another thing that's different is the pacing. So when you're in person, on something like this, a podcast, it's more conversational. So you come to expect a certain kind of pace. When you are doing a video, you may want to go faster, because you only have a certain amount of time to capture people's attention. So let's say I'm on TikTok a lot these days. So I do 30-second or 60-second videos, and I am speaking much faster than I usually do, because I want to get a certain amount of information in, and I feel like the platform expects that. But when you're in person, you can take many more pauses. Think of like stand-up comedians, and people are laughing, and they're just standing there letting people laugh. They take a drink of water, they let it calm down. You wouldn't do that necessarily, on a podcast. If there's too much silence, first of all, you don't hear the audience laughing. And if you have too much silence, then people think, wait, is something wrong? Is there a tech glitch here? Actually, it reminds me, there used to be a radio host here in Boston, Massachusetts, in the US, where I live. And his name was Robert J. Lertzimer. It was a classical station. And he was famous for long pauses. And in fact, people knew they were on the station if there was like nothing happening for a minute. And he would play this classical piece, and after it was over, it would just be like silence. And he just like let that silence be. And it was fine. I mean, he was on for probably 20 years. People loved his show, but it was something that you hardly ever will find anymore, that long pause online. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Absolutely, it does.
Yeah. Oh, we're trying out the long pause here.
No, I'm not. I was thinking actually.
Well, of course. And in fact, you know, silence is really, I think, an important piece of our human experience. You know, to give ourselves space to be quiet. And it's unfortunately something that is a little harder to do, or to really take that kind of space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how to overcome stage fear?
I missed the beginning of the sentence.
I said, how can someone overcome their stage fear?
Yes. So
many people looking at us.
The first step,
so many
the
eyes,
first step is the reveal and heal what may have happened to you that may have kept you back. Maybe it's that, maybe it was messages of, you know, silence is golden, or don't speak back to your elders, or don't speak unless spoken to, you know, those kinds of messages that we get as kids that are meant to keep us quiet, that are meant to keep us from speaking. And they may have been well-intentioned, but people, and oftentimes our parents heard that from their parents. I don't know how it was where you grew up in Bangladesh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what kind of messages were common there. I just know what's common here in the US. But it could be messages that you heard. It could be experiences that you had. And then, as I mentioned, secondly, the second step of my three-part framework, the Inner Freedom Framework, is to restore that sense of safety inside you. So if you are being mean to yourself, of course you don't feel safe inside yourself. It's like having a bully inside your head. It's like having someone outside saying, "What's the matter with you?" Or, "How could you be so stupid? How could you do that?" Or, "Oh my God, you made a fool of yourself." I mean, we don't, if you have that voice inside yourself, it's going to be hard to feel safe inside yourself. And that's going to make it harder for you to feel safe in front of other people. So restore a sense of safety, number 2. Number 3 is to repattern our habits. So it may be that we just learned through our experiences, through the way people responded to us growing up, to be a certain way. Maybe you learned to speak really quietly because you didn't want to disturb your father who was working nights and was sleeping during the day. Or maybe there was a big family and everyone was competing for airtime and attention, and you thought, oh, it's too hard to compete with my siblings, I'll just be quiet. Or maybe it was that you were praised. I mean, I was praised for being the good girl, for being the quiet one, for not making any trouble. So whatever our habits were from either praise, or we just developed them because we were trying to be good kids and fit in, and whatever those are that's not serving us, we need to swap them out. So it may be that we are used to being kind of tight and tense in our body, and we need to learn to relax it physically and feel a sense of expansion. Or maybe it's the way we use our voice that, as I mentioned before, maybe we used to whisper, or maybe we try to, like a lot of women might feel either like their voices are too high or their voices are too low, or they were criticized in their voices because they were too nasal, or whatever it is that we feel like is holding us back. We need to learn those skills that you were asking about before, like what are the skills and what are the new habits that we can create that actually support us and feeling confident, feeling like grounded, feeling happy, feeling like we're in the place that is our best place when we speak with other people. Yeah, so those three parts: reveal and heal, restore safety, and repattern our habits so that we grow into the way we want to express ourselves.
You mentioned about the safety. How can we overcome it when it's inside us?
Yeah, so that's a wonderful question. One is to write a love letter to yourself. Make a commitment to yourself. Say, I'm going to try to be kind. To notice when you have those voices and you say, oh, was that a mean thing? I have this test I call the best friend test. If I have a thought and I can't tell if that was mean or not, I'll say it out loud with the name of a friend or my daughter to see if I would say it to them. Like when I was writing my book, now I've been working on my inner dialogue for a long time, so I not mean too often, but occasionally I hear something and I wonder. So while I was writing my book, I remember saying to myself, Linda, you are so slow. And I asked myself, was that a mean comment? So I said it out loud with my daughter's name, Lexi, you're so slow. And when I heard it out loud, I said, no, I would never say that to her. If she felt like she was slow, I would probably try to help her see the benefits of taking her time. I would say, actually, maybe you need to give it some more thought. Maybe you don't want to hurry through this and make an error because it's important for you to do it carefully. Or maybe you just need more time to to digest some material here. So I would definitely, if I was talking to my daughter, be nicer about it. And that gives me the clues on how to speak to myself. Another way to do it is think, how do you want people to speak to you? What are the things that you would love someone to say to you? And then start saying those things to yourself. Now, one way that I help people get into this even more clearly is when I have a program, like my Comfy on Camera program. People will post videos, and then everyone comments on everyone's videos, at least 3 of them, pointing out what they love, what they like, what they resonate with, what they appreciate. And so you begin to get practice in looking for what you like and what you appreciate. When I have a class called Think on Your Feet for people to get more comfortable with their impromptu speaking. And we do the same thing. Someone will speak for 90 seconds on a topic, and then each person will say what they liked and appreciated about it. And as you do that, you begin to build a habit and a way of looking for what you like and appreciate. And then you can start doing it with yourself. You watch your own YouTube and...
Sorry for the interruption. This is a short break. Looks like you're really enjoying the episode. I have a small request. After finishing this, please leave a review on Apple Podcast. It means the world to me. And reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. You will find the contact details below. Let's continue.
So Salman, what's it like for you when you watch your YouTube videos? Do you cringe or do you enjoy seeing yourself?
I would say watching your own video, it's kind of awkward. Watching your own YouTube videos, sometimes it feels embarrassing. I think you can relate.
Yeah, I definitely can relate. I remember making my first speaker reel when I got on stage and I had a talk and I had it recorded and I was going to, shorten it up to put it out as, oh, here's Linda Ugelow as a speaker. And when I got it, I was so, as you said, so embarrassed just to watch it myself, and I couldn't. And then after a few, it just kind of like stayed there on the computer. And I was thinking, I spent all this money to create this, and probably nobody else will feel the way that I feel. So I needed to find a way to watch myself without cringing. And so I developed a process called How to Watch Yourself on Video Without Cringing. And similarly to what we spoke about a little earlier, I started off by saying, okay, I'm just going to let my inner critic go to town. I'm going to write down everything that I hate about this. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to write down everything that I like and appreciate. And then I took the list of the things I didn't like and I dropped them into two buckets. I said, okay, which are the things that I can't do anything about? Like I can't do anything about my features or the shape of my body or things like that. Or maybe, there are things in my voice that I don't like that would take more time to change. But what are the things that I could change? What of that I don't like? And I realized that the majority of things that I didn't like were actually things I could change. Like I could work on the sound of my voice. I could work on my posture or my gestures or the clothes that I wore. It's like I was thinking, oh, how did I ever wear those shoes on stage? Or, it's silly things, but we get hung up about it. So I recommend go back and say, okay, I'm going to watch this video. And you know what will help? I was just listening to Amy Cuddy. Do you know Amy Cuddy? She has a TED Talk on power poses. I don't know if you've ever heard of her power. It's a very millions of views. And actually, the research has been somewhat debunked since she kind of presented it. But I think that ultimately it still has the same effect. She was saying that standing in certain ways changes your hormonal levels, and they didn't really show the hormonal levels that they claimed to, but people do feel really differently. So if you stand at, with your hands on your hips or with your arms up high, like in a victory pose, and you hold that for a couple of minutes, kind of like a yoga pose, that brings in your strength, or like a superpower pose, it does bring up this sense of boldness in yourself. And so if you do that before you go to watch your video, or before you go to speak for that matter, you will have the stamina to withstand the thoughts that your inner critic has to say as you write them down. And really it'll be curious and interesting rather than demoralizing. And especially if you go back and you say, okay, what are the things I do like? And then go back again and say, what are the things that I can change? Because what we really want to be able to do, Salman, is to know that we're okay as we are. And of course, we're going to get better. And we get better when we're able to see what we like and what we want to do better. What are your thoughts?
I think accepting yourself is important. It's how you are, what you are, right? Previously, you have mentioned that speaking on camera and speaking on the stage is a very different thing. So I asked about we'll talk about speaking on stage. So I want to ask how to get rid of your camera fear.
Yeah, well, the same rules apply to, like, if you have anxiety on camera, it will stem from whatever it is that's being triggered. So the thing is that we're all speakers. It's just that we feel comfortable in some places and not in others. So wherever it is that we're feeling uncomfortable, like I had someone write to me today, in fact, and said, I'm uncomfortable whenever I'm with speaking to people who are in positions of authority, people who are older or my bosses or these kinds of things. And so I said to her, as a child, what was your relationship to authority? Did you feel comfortable with people in positions of authority? And I'm waiting to hear back from her, but usually people will say, oh, well, that makes sense because this happened or that happened. So wherever it is that we feel uncomfortable may, in fact, just in the specificity of it, lead us back to what is the cause. That being said, there are ways to bring yourself to feel more relaxed on camera. And this is going to sound so obvious, the biggest tool that I have to give to people is to actually relax on camera. So that means like you turn on the camera and then you don't do this publicly necessarily. You do this on your own, but you turn on the camera and you practice relaxing. You say, okay, I'm going to relax my eyes. I'm going to relax my shoulders. I'm going to relax my breathing. And you go through your whole body and just bring yourself into this place of relaxation. Then open your eyes. Do it again with your eyes open on the camera. Envision people on the other side that you enjoy speaking to. And then envision that they're sending you their positive regard and take it in, let that feeling fill you up. And then all of a sudden you have this whole different relationship with being on camera. But you can do the same thing on stage too.
Personally, I have tried that. When I'm recording, the thing you mentioned, I've done that, but I face problem when it's like when I see it's recording. Normally, I'm having a Zoom call with someone. I'm talking as usual. When I see it's recording, I started to get nervous.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe it's practicing it when it's recording then. Yeah. Like in my Comfy on Camera class, I have people actually make videos of themselves doing this. And they post them in the group, not publicly. But they post them in the group and then get positive feedback. So that you practice it in the actual kind of situation that you're in. How I have come to think of it is it's allowing ourselves to connect with ourselves. And then feeling like it's okay for other people to witness us connecting with ourselves and knowing that we don't have to be anything more than we are. I mean, you may want to, when I say than we are, I mean, we're lots of things. So we bring different kinds of energy to different kinds of situations. So it may be that you choose to bring more energy when you're speaking and maybe less energy when you're just chatting with a friend. Or it might be the reverse. It all depends on what your intention is. But yeah, do it with the recording on. Maybe do it with a friend. Maybe that will bring you to the next level. So you can do it with it off. But now you want the evidence that you can do it when it's on.
So whatever your fear is, just do it.
Well, as I said, I think it's worth coming through the past and seeing. I have a whole chapter in my book, Delight on the Limelight, chapter 4 of this book, where I go through so many different possibilities of what could be the root cause. And I always suggest to people to start there because you never know. I mean, it's like if you remember something, sometime, like even just one small comment that was made to you and you still remember it, it probably is impacting you still. It might you might think, oh, that didn't matter. It was so long ago. It was just one comment. But sometimes those things do have an impact. Or maybe it's just things that you saw happening to other people or in the media or in movies, that you absorbed of, something leading you to believe that somehow it was not okay or not safe to take up space, to be the center of attention, or to express yourself the way you are. I have worked with people who they didn't have any experiences themselves, but they observed other people having them. And it made them feel like, that's never going to happen to me. It's risky. So these are the things that only you can decide for yourself. But I do recommend that's the place you start. I think pushing through fear will get the deed done. I pushed through fear for 75 days on Periscope, and I got on every day and I managed it. But managing fear is different than dissolving it. So it depends what you're after and what your needs are.
Absolutely. So what inspired you to write your book?
I felt like I was offering an approach that I couldn't find on Google. And I wanted to add to the conversation out there. I wanted to have something that when people looked up how to get over my stage fright or my speaking fear, that they had something else other than just do it.
Sorry for the interruption. This is a short break. Looks like you're really enjoying the episode. I have a small request. After finishing this, please leave a review on Apple Podcast. It means the world to me. And reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. You will find the contact details below. Let's continue.
In the pre-podcast form, you mentioned about your empowerment kit.
Yes, the empowermentkit.me. Yes. So that has 3 pieces in it. It has a guided visualization for people who want to have more speaking confidence in person, offline. It has an audio visualization for people who want to get more comfortable on camera. And it also has 61 power thoughts. Now, these power thoughts or affirmations are not meant for you to read all of them through, but to pick and choose which ones resonate with you. And the audio visualizations are very powerful. They're like mental rehearsals, which, a lot of times when we use our imagination in very powerful ways, and we may as well use it for good. So this is the way to imagine how you want to feel when you speak, how you want to feel when you're on camera. And it gives you a structure in which to relax your body and listen to these ideas and have your imagination go to how you want to feel. And I've had a lot of people write to me and say, wow, this really helped me get through when I was pitching to investors, or when I had to give this presentation, or I listen to it before I have to make videos, and it's really, really helpful. So I describe this actually in my book pretty close to the beginning, because I know people who are anxious, they want to have something quick that they can do. And this is my best quick tip. And so people can get that going to my website at lindaugelow.com, or you can go straight to empowermentkit.me. Is that what I gave? Is that the link that I gave you?
Maybe you.
Or is it empowermentkit.com? I think it's, or is it empowermentkit.com? Oh, I should know this.
I will add that in the show notes. So what would be your advice for the people who have just started their business?
I would say to look at the long game, number one. To know that it's not going to be overnight, but that you will incrementally get all of the pieces put together. And to allow yourself, give yourself the grace and permission to just be where you are all the time. Be kind to yourself, and knowing that you're going in the right direction, everything is figure outable, and you will get to where you're going. Just be undeterred.
That's a great advice. So where can our listener find you online? What's the best way to reach out to you?
Well, the best way to reach out to continue the conversation is to come to my website at lindaugelow.com. You can find out about my book there. You can download the speaker empowerment kit there, and you can message me.
Awesome. So let's end it here.
Thank you so much for having me on, Salman.
It's my pleasure. So any last word for our listeners?
Look for the best feeling that you can, so that you can enjoy the journey.
Thanks for joining us today. Hit the subscribe button, and if you're listening this on Apple Podcast, please leave a review. This will really help us to make our future episodes better. Have a question in mind? Go to salmanfarsi.co/ask and submit your question. We see every submission and we might answer it in the next episode. Thanks again for listening. We will see you on Tuesday and Thursday. Have a great week.